The number one strategy for increasing your price, if you want to charge more, if you want to be a premium provider, the number one thing to do is move yourself from provider to consultant. If you're just providing a service, and that service is something that can be ordered off the shelf, you're immediately commoditized. And I can now come in and compare apples to apples and beat you up over price. So if you feel like you're there right now, if you're in a business where customers are constantly coming up to you and trying to beat you up over price, the way that you fix that problem is you move from a provider to a consultant. What does that mean? That means that there has to be some level of diagnosis and prescription. So diagnosis means you come to me with whatever it is that you want to do. I help you assess the situation. And more importantly, I tell you what I think should be done. And this can be true in truly any level of analysis, any business. You pick it, from financial services to videography, digital marketing, landscaping. And you know, we'll take that, not to even treat it as a pejorative, but it's just it's a very accessible business that's easy to analyze. You have the landscaper that shows up at your house and says, what do you want me to do? And then you say, well, I guess I'd like you to obviously trim the bushes, mow my lawn, pull the weeds. And now I'm suddenly uncomfortable because the truth is I know nothing about landscaping. And then you have a landscaper that shows up and says, just so you know, we found that in this area, these plants work best. And so my very strong recommendation is, and all of a sudden what happens? Trust, right? You're like, oh, you know things. You know, you're an expert. You actually can come in and tell me and guide me and show me. And that's one of the hardest things to learn, I think, as a young entrepreneur, is people want to be told what to do. They want you to articulate some level of expertise. So if you feel like you're trapped, especially from a pricing perspective, lift yourself out of that by becoming a consultant. Now, here's what's really hard. The difficulty in taking the consultative approach is you have to say no. You have to begin letting people know what you will and won't do, what they can and can't do, what they should and shouldn't do. And you have to draw a really hard line. Imagine walking into a doctor's office and beginning to dictate terms to the doctor. I'd like this procedure at this time in this way. I want to take these medications over this period of time. This is how I think we're going to test. There's not a doctor on the planet that wouldn't just kick you right out of their office, right? Every doctor's going to have their specialty. Every doctor's going to have their approach. For those of us that have had to traverse quite a bit in the way of the medical profession, there are doctors that if you don't align with their modality, that's just the sign that they're not the right provider for you. So what's interesting about that though is when you assume that position and you assume that framework, that's the thing that allows you to begin billing like you're a doctor. Think about all of the providers, let's say, that you spend the most money on, where the leverage is highest. There's always prescription and diagnosis, always. Doctors and lawyers are the easy ones, right? You go to an attorney not to tell them exactly what to do. You go to an attorney because you don't know what to do, and you need somebody with the legal experience that's able to tell you, this is the approach that I think we should take. Doctors are the same way. But there's also mechanics, right? Like in any realm, in any business where there's significant leverage from a value to the time perspective, you're going to have a prescription and a diagnosis. And what's really cool about most businesses is that's actually the thing that people want. They're not paying you for what happens. They're paying you to tell them what should happen. And if you can do that in a way that earns their trust, which very often means hard, inconvenient truths, then you put yourself in the driver's seat as far as being the consultant is concerned. And now it's no longer a question of price. That's what's really interesting is if somebody comes to you for the prescription and diagnosis process and you tell them, here's exactly what I think you should do, you're putting them in a position of being able to usurp you potentially. So now it's like, oh, all you need to do is, you know, let's take a software engineer, for example. I'm trying to develop an app with some friends right now, and I don't know what the framework should look like, what the tech stack should look like, what the approach should look like. So I go to a software engineer and I pay them for the prescription and diagnosis process. And they hand me a blueprint and say, okay, this is what we think the tech stack should look like. This is the approach you should take. This is what the database should look like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know what any of those words mean. I'm not a software engineer. Now it's incumbent upon me to decide what I do with this information. And if I choose not to go with the people that made that initial prescription and diagnosis, I have to champion that. I have to own it. I have to decide to be the expert. And then the provider that I go to and begin dictating terms, whenever they come back to me and say, hey, this isn't working for this reason, it's now on me. Or I stick with the original provider. So what I really like about the prescription and diagnosis framework is it puts you in the driver's seat. It makes you the authority. And for any customer that's going to try to, you know, squeeze you down and then play the pricing game, they're just not the right fit for you. And that's one of the things that I really love saying, incidentally, is anytime anybody asks me for a discount, I stole this from somebody I was on the phone with. Gosh, I wish I could remember who it was. I was talking to a vendor and I was trying to get better pricing. And he made this comically flippant comment. He goes, I can charge you whatever I want. I own the business and it's my time. This is what I charge because this is what I want to make. And what was really cool about it is I knew and he knew that I wanted to work with him. So I think when you can put yourself in that position and you're the one doing the prescription and diagnosis, it places every other provider beneath you. Now you're the authority and they're just the button pushers. And you get to decide what it is that you want to make and what customers you want to take. So if you're struggling with being the premium provider, then move to consultant and move to to a prescription and diagnosis framework and spend time asking questions, really dig in, make the assessment. That's the real meat of the process. Far too often technicians really want to make, it's doing the work. They're so excited to whatever it is, fix the sink, bake the bread, repair the car. And they're jumping beyond the real value proposition. They're jumping beyond the thing that the customer is actually paying for. So I'm not telling you need to turn it into a dog and pony show. You don't need to do that at all. But I do think that you need to spending a little bit more time there, and spending more time on assessment, prescription, diagnosis is going to elevate your value beyond quite literally any other process addition you can make to your business. And I can't recommend more highly that you be the premium provider. You want to be the most expensive person in the space because it allows you to invest in the experience. It allows you to hire better people. It allows you to make mistakes. You actually have margin for error when those things take place. So I think that's the most important thing you can do, especially when you're small. Go premium, go high end, and treat yourself like you are the physician or the attorney or the mechanic, whatever it is. You're not the technician, because if and when you're the technician, you're nothing more than an order taker and you're completely commoditized. I realize it's really easy to say. It's easy for me to say, sitting behind a mic, in these random hypotheticals, that you should just charge more money. My ask of you is to try it. The next lead you get, the next client you're on the phone with, just pause for a minute and start asking them why. Let's say you're a website designer and somebody comes and says, I need a new website. Your inclination is going to say, great, we build websites, please hire me. And instead say, why? What's wrong with your current website? Oh, I don't have a current website. Okay, cool. What is it that you're trying to accomplish with the website? Well, I'm interested in lead generation or authority building or branding. Or they have a current website and I need a new website. Why? Oh, well, it's not mobile responsive. Interesting. Why is mobile important to you? You see kind of where this is already starting to go the minute you turn the table on the client, because there's a reticence to seeking out a provider. And the reticence is, I know you want my money. And so I know you're willing to say just about anything that you have to say in order to take my money. That's going to be my experience for most vendors of any kind. When I hop on the phone with you and you start challenging some of my assumptions, it puts you in the position of being the authority, of being the consultant. You're not going to lose the client. I promise you're going to keep them on the phone longer than any other vendor they talk to that day. Just begin asking why. Begin being consultative. And then prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So really dig deep into what it is that they want, what it is that they need, what their problems might be, what they've tried before, who they've worked with, what their fears are. These are all questions that people want to be asked. And even if you know the answer right out of the gate, the real trick is don't shoot too soon, right? Like sit there and put them in a position and in a frame where they really feel like you've been as comprehensive as you possibly can be. Because there's nothing worse than walking into a doctor's office and having a doctor throw a stack of pills at you after you've, when you filled out the form, you walked in, you offered a sentence or two about what's wrong, and then instantly this guy knows everything. Like, I'm a unique and special snowflake. There's no way that you know everything that's wrong with me, even if you do. So spend time with people, move to a consultative frame. And what's really interesting about the consultative frame is the value is impossible to commoditize. It's impossible to quantify. It's uniquely yours, and it's based on your experience and your perception and your approach. And so if you're in a heavily commoditized industry like website design, you now have moved yourself outside of being a commodity, and you become a unique offering unto yourself. So I hope this is helpful. If my videos have helped you at all, I'd love for you to share them. I'm trying to be YouTube famous, and I'd love your assistance in that endeavor. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.